Chapter 12, The Queen of England. Time runs differently in prison. Sometimes it passes as if in slow motion, when every hour feels like 3 hours, every day feels like a month, every month feels like a year, and every year feels like a decade. In regular population, time is something you count down until your release date. You cross off each day, happy to have gotten through it, and thankful that you are one day closer to leaving to freedom. On the road, it's different. The only date you would ever have to count down to is your execution date. And when you have that date, time speeds up. It runs as if someone has pressed fast forward, and every day feels like an hour, every hour feels like a minute, and every minute feels like a second. In prison, time is a strange and fluid thing, but time on the road is even more warped.
Everyone knew there was only one way to leave the row, on a gurney or set free by the law. I wasn't really ready to leave on a gurney, so I started praying at night for my new attorney and for the truth to finally come out. I didn't pray for my release because that wasn't enough. I wanted the truth to come out. I wanted the people to know that I was innocent. I wanted McGregor to apologize. I wanted the jury to know that they had gotten it wrong, and for other juries to learn from their mistakes. The only way that could have happened if I was found innocent, and I was also a bit suspicious. Going about her too many folks praying for things in general ways and having it turn out badly for them when it seemed like their prayers were answered in a literal way. I know a guy in county jail who used to pray for to get free and to leave C Block. Everyone knew he wasn't leaving before his trial, but he said he was praying and God knew his ends. God was going to answer his prayer. The next day he was caught smoking, and when they turned over his cell for his stash, the guards found a weapon he made out of a broken piece of plastic off a metal tray. He did leave C Block, but only to go into solitary confinement. I said my prayers carefully. I prayed for Lester and our moms. I prayed for our Lester's new wife, and I prayed for the members of our church and our neighbors and my brother and my sister and my nieces.
I prayed for Sid Smotherman, and I prayed for the families of John Davidson and Thomas Faison, but mostly I prayed for the truth. Truth was so big, broad word, but I knew there was no gray area and no way to misinterpret my prayer. I prayed for God to reveal the truth, and whether that meant they proved me innocent or they caught the guy who really did it or Reggie confessed to lying, didn't matter. I knew that the truth would set me free. John 8:32. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. I also read Mark 11:24. What things soever you desire when you pray, believe that you receive them and you shall have them. I read this over and over again, looking for a loophole, but if it was true that God could do everything but fail. Then the truth had to be known. The truth had to set me free. If I believed it, it would happen. I had to. I had gotten a few letters from Santa Sonnenberg, so I knew she was investigating my case. She and a woman named Laura had been calling my mom and my friends looking into things. I spoke to Santa on the phone, and she apologized for not being able to come visit again, but told me she was busy preparing my Rule 20 petition, which was a petition for relief from convictions and sentences of death. I wondered how she was going to be able to investigate things if she worked in Washington, D.C., but I didn't ask her. I was grateful she was keeping me away from the electric chair. I had to pray and believe.
The Assistant Attorney General of Alabama, a guy named Kenneth S. Newley, was now representing the state. And in my post-conviction appeal submit, Santa Ana told me he gave her until August to file my petition, and she will be sending a copy when fit filed. We were allowed to go to the law library once a week for an hour. I refused my time for the past 3 years, but now I went every week. We weren't allowed to bring any books back to ourselves, and we all weren't allowed Bibles or any religious books for an hour every week. I would read about the law in Alabama. I learned what the capital conviction really was. I read about aggravating mitigating circumstances. I didn't know at the time of my trial, even though a jury said life in prison. A judge in Alabama could override the jury and still send you to the electrical chair. It's called the judicial override, and to me it seemed like another way just to put an innocent man to death.
I could understand the point in having a jury if a judge could just go ahead and do whatever he wanted. How is that justice, I wondered? Why was Alabama so hell-bent on putting people to death one way or another? I got back to my cell after my law library trip. I could only read so much in about an hour, and I had questions. Y'all heard of this judicial override business? I yelled out. That's some bullshit right there. I wasn't sure who the voice belonged to. I had just started talking to the guards, to the other inmates, so I felt a little like being the new kid at school. Several other voices yelled out in agreement. It seems like it defeats the purpose of a jury if a judge can do what he wants, I said, as if the cards aren't stacked against you already enough. Preach it, brother, another voice yelled out. There was some laughter. I'm going to read up on it in some more some more next week, I said. Some of you should do the same. A voice I hadn't heard earlier yelled out, I'm here because of that judge overriding the jury. My jury said life. Me too, yelled another voice. It's because them judges got to get elected. That's all. They get more votes the more men they send to the death chair. I stood at the front of my cell. It was weird to have a discussion where you couldn't see somebody and couldn't tell who was talking unless it was the guy on the either side of you. I was beginning to distinguish guys from their voices, their accents. You could tell who was a bit more educated and who wasn't. But that's about all you could tell.
The police lied and said I took $1 from the guy. It wasn't the first voice again, and that's how I even got a capital case. I'm not saying what I did or even if I did anything, but I'm saying they lied and said I took $1. That made it a capital case. And then when the jury said life, the judge said nope, it's gonna be death. I could hear his voice break a little when he was choking up. What's your name, man? I yelled. He didn't answer for a few minutes. The road strangely got quiet, even though the guys around him who knew his name. It was his, and not to tell or not to tell. You didn't speak for anyone on the road. You don't name names ever. My name's Ray. I said Anthony Ray Hinton, but folks call me Ray.
There was silence. I rested my left cheek up against the mesh wire of my door. I could wait. We had nothing to do here but wait. There was something in this guy's voice. He sounded alone. I'm from Praco and proud to be the son of Butler Hinton, the best mother God ever sent down to this earth, who could make a pie like an angel and swat you like the devil if you tried to eat it before she say so. I heard a few guys laugh, but I didn't know if the guy whose name I was waiting on was one of them. My mom makes a pretty good pie herself, he finally said. My name is Henry. Henry didn't say his last name, and I didn't care to ask him. The guards called us by number or last name, rarely by our first name. I would no sooner ask him his last name than I would ask him what he was in here for. Some things you never ask the guy. If someone wanted to tell you or talk about it, that was one thing, but you never asked. And really, what did it matter? We were all being careful. We were all protecting ourselves and reaching out at the same time. What else could you do?
Nice to meet you, Henry, and I hope someday we can sit together in the shade on a beautiful 4th of July, drinking some sweet tea while our mothers compete to see who can make the best pie. I don't know about your mom, but mine's love the good competition. Henry laughed. Well, that would be something to see. Ray, you have no idea. That really would be something.
I'm sorry about your case, Henry, I said. That doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right at all. I'm going to do some more research next week on the judge override. You should do the same. He didn't say anything back, so I dropped it. You know they don't like it when we educate ourselves, I yelled out. The South still isn't happy we ever learned to read. Preach it, brother. Is that you, Jesse? I hollered back. Last time I checked, it was. I'm still here. You still here? Wallace, I'm still here. And up and down the road it went, guys calling out to each other by cell. Sometimes they asked by name, other times they asked in general, you still here? And a different voice would yell back, I'm still here. And with each voice it got funnier and funnier. I started laughing. Each man who yelled that he was still here made me laugh harder. Here we were in our cages. It shouldn't have been funny, but it was. We are all still here, I yelled out one last time, and then I lay back on my bed. It was a good day when you can find a little bit of light. I didn't hear from Henry again that day, but there was no need to push it. Maybe we become friends, maybe not.
I thought about Wallace. He had been yelling and laughing. Everyone knew he had an execution date in less than 2 weeks. It made my stomach turn a bit. Wallace and Jesse had started Project Hope, and a kind of inmate advocacy group to fight the death penalty. I didn't see how it really was going to change anything, but I knew it helped it feel like you were doing something. I knew they got permission to meet him in a small group, and I am sure the guys went and had another opportunity to get out their cells. We still only are allowed less than an hour out of our cell every day. That visiting day and law library, that's it. The warden only let small groups out for Project Hope meetings, and I hope they didn't cause any trouble, because if anyone in the road caused trouble, it made a problem for all of us. The warden had no trouble locking us down all day or taking away our visits if anyone did anything. I was nice about everyone, and I definitely wasn't going to let some fool stop my visits. Lester came every week no matter what, and apart from those 6 hours with him, and our moms, I had very few ways to keep myself occupied. I was reading my Bible again, and a man can't read only the Bible. It was only like having steak for dinner. You might as well love steak. If you had every day for the week, eventually you're going to get sick of it. I read my Bible before Wallace was executed on July 13th, 1990. He wore a purple ribbon
and a sign that said, execute justice, not people. We banged on the bars for Wallace Rel Thomas. Some banged on the bars to protect the death penalty, others banged on the bars just to have something to do or as a way to let off steam. I banged on the bars so he would know that he mattered, that he was not alone. In the end, I think that's what we all want, to know we matter to someone, anyone. I knew I mattered to my mom and Lester and Phoebe, and that was more than a lot of these guys had. A lot of guys came here and died here without ever getting a visit. A lot of them never had a parent who loved them. A few weeks after Wallace was killed, I got a letter from Santa, a handwritten note, which was unusual. Mom, 8690. Monday, 8690. Mr. Hinton, apologies for the delay in getting this to you and for such an informal note. As I mentioned, I'm one halfway to finishing the Rule 20 petition. I met with Brian Stevenson this morning, and we have many ideas for your case. I'm sorry not to have been able to visit you today. Please know that it's only because I want to do the best job I can on writing your petition. Stay strong and stay in touch. I'll be sending you a copy of the petition next week. Best wishes, Santa.
I read the letter over and over again. She had written her home number in the bottom right corner of the letter in red ink. I appreciate that. I was looking forward to getting in a position. Not only I knew my appeal was moving forward, but so I could have something else to read, anything to occupy my mind. I couldn't understand why we weren't allowed to have books. I thought about Wallace's group. What if I started a group? What could my group be about? What could help these guys not feel so alone? What could help us escape this place for a little bit? I thought back into being in the coal mines. I could give anything to be working in the coal mines again. I had hated it at the time, but I thought about how I had escaped the misery of it. I had traveled in my mind.
I closed my eyes and thought about where I would go if I were off death row. I imagined myself walking out the front door of the prison. There was a plane waiting for me. It was parked right in the parking lot between the two fences, a private jet. It was white and inside it had a soft leather seats the color of butter. I sat down and immediately a beautiful flight attendant appeared. She had dark skin, red lips, and a smile so big I thought I would die right then and there. Mr. Hinton, can I get you anything to drink? Champagne, perhaps? Yes, thank you. The pilot's voice came over the loudspeaker. Please fasten your seatbelts. We'll be taking off shortly. Flying time is approximately 8 hours. Mr. Hinton, there's a bed in the back of the plane for you to sleep on during the flight. I looked at the flight attendant. Where are we going? We are flying to London. The Queen of England is waiting to meet you. Of course, thank you. I waited until we were in the air, and then I walked to the back of the plane. There was beautiful king-size bed with a velvet comforter and the blanket my mom made me when I was a baby. There were dozens of soft pillows all over my bed, and when I climbed into the sheets, they smelled like freshly mowed lawns and magnolia blossoms. The plane landed, and I stepped off to a waiting limousine. Buckingham Palace guards stood beside the car, and one saluted me and held open the door as I climbed in. My suit was cream colored and my tie a deep royal blue. When my car arrived at the palace, a whole regiment of guards, complete with the tall, furry black hats, stood at attention.
I was brought through a large hallway, and my two servants stood outside the grand ballroom. They bowed at me and opened the double doors. I walked inside, and there she was, the Queen of England. She was wearing a blue dress that perfectly matched my tie, and the crown made of gold and rubies. Mr. Hinton, the Queen held out her hand. Mr. Hinton, the Queen held out her hand and blew a kiss back in the back of it. Your Majesty, please join me for a tea, Mr. Hinton. It is an honor to meet you. The honor is all mine. Please call me Ray. The Queen laughed, and the servants came in with tiny sandwiches and cakes and tarts. They served us tea that smelled like milk, honey, and home.
What can I do to help you, Mr. Hinton Ray? The Queen asked. You don't deserve to be on death row. You must let me help you. Being here with you was help enough, I answered. Well, you must come see me anytime you can. We must put our heads together and find a way to get you home. Everyone needs to go home. We'll find a way, I said. I know I will get back home. I know it. I am praying and I am believing, and it has to happen. Of course you will, she said. Now let me show you the castle and the gardens and all the secret rooms we have in the palace. I followed the Queen of England around for hours and hours. We played croquet and had some more tea, and she showed me where all the former kings had slept, and we talked about how hard it would be to rule a country and how responsible she felt for everyone. It felt great to be treated with respect, to be called Mr. Hinton instead of just Hinton. Hinton, Hinton. The voice came out of nowhere, and I could tell it startled the Queen as much as it did me. I tried to ignore it, but it only got louder, and I could see the palace guards rushing in and surrounding the Queen as if she were under attack. I have to go, Your Majesty, but I will come back, I said. Hinton, look alive. Hinton, look alive.
I blinked, my eyes seemed to focus, and then I saw a guard yelling at me. I sat up on my bed. You're going to take your visitor or what? I was confused. Visiting day wasn't until Friday, and it was only Wednesday. What are you talking about? Is my lawyer here? No, you have a regular family visit. You want it or not? You've been acting strange for days. Of course I want it. Give me a minute to get dressed, please. You have exactly 1 minute. I pulled out. About to sneeze. I pulled out my dress whites. I kept on one set of freezing clothes just for visits in between visits. I kept them folded under my mattress so the creases in the pants leg was set real sharp. I felt disoriented. If the guards wanted me to get an extra visit a week, I wasn't going to complain. I walked into the visiting yard and I smiled when I seen Lester and both their moms and Sylvia. Lester's new wife? How did you get an extra visit? I asked. I was happy to see them, but I was confused. What are you talking about? This is our regular visit day, baby. What's wrong with you? My mom looked up and frowned her brows. I sat down and asked and looked at the floor. What day is it? It's Friday. Are you sick? I looked around and the other inmates were coming to visit too. It was a warning. It was Friday. It had just been Wednesday. Now it was Friday. I had completely skipped over Thursday. I'm starving. Did you guys bring up some money from the vending machines? Lester's looked at me and stood up. He walked over to the vending machine but stopped a few feet away and turned back to me. Where have you been, man? You wouldn't believe me if I told you, I said. He shrugged and smiled. And he wasn't exactly sure what happened. There was only two ways to leave the death row, but I had found another way, a third way. It felt me better than years. I had jumped in to hug my mom. Even though the guards yelled at me to sit down, I held onto her. Then I started to laugh.
Time was a funny and strange and fluid thing, and I was going to bend it and shape it so that it wasn't my enemy. Someday I was going to walk out of here, but until then, I was going to use my mind to travel the world. I had so many places to go and people to see and things to learn. You sure you're okay? My mom still looked worried. I'm sure, I said. Well, when are you going to come home, baby? When are they going to let you out of here? She always asked this question, and usually it made me sad, but not today. Soon, Mama, I said. I'm going to be coming home real soon. After my visit, the guards walked me back to my cell. I changed back into my regular whites and carefully folded my dress whites and put them under the mattress. And then I sat on the edge of the bed and closed my eyes.
My mom had planted some new flowers in front of our house. They were purple, white, and pink. I had ran my fingers across them gently. I walked around the side of the house and the lawn needed cutting. I opened the door and shed and pulled the mower out. I would take care of this for her and then go inside and have some tea and let her gossip about the things going on in church and around town. Is that you, baby? She poked her head around the screen door. It's me, Mama. It's me. She smiled and clapped her hands together. I told you would be home soon. I told you.